could see the bus, but there was no time to get out of the way. That moment seemed elastic to stretch out as I took everything in. The streetlights reflected in the windshield, the chrome around the headlights, the chipped white paint between the windshield and the chrome grille, my breath as it plumed out in front of me in the cold night air. All of it seemed frozen in the spiderweb of time. The lady driving the bus looked to be in her late 40s, but time had been kind to her. She was wearing a uniform that was clean and neatly pressed, topped off by one of those silly looking hats that all bus drivers have to wear. Her green eyes grew extremely wide as she braced herself, both physically and mentally, for the inevitable impact. Rubber squealed on asphalt as she tromped down on the brake pedal and I felt a pang of regret that I had caused such distress to this person in just a moment of carelessness. As the bus approached agonizingly slow in perceived time, I noticed the front of the bus was speckled with the carcasses of bugs whose life had been prematurely ended by powers beyond their understanding. There was surprisingly little pain as I joined them there for just a moment, and then bounced backward, rolling into the street. I came to a stop on my stomach, head turned toward the sidewalk. Seconds later, my laptop came crashing down in front of me, its monitor shattered and its body dented and broken. A lady who had been passing by on the sidewalk rushed over to me. She was a brunette, wearing a cold weather cap with matching shawl and sweater. She was pretty except for the look of worry that clashed with the laugh lines on her face. Black slacks with matching low-heeled boots completed her outfit. She neatly stepped over the broken body of my beloved laptop as she rushed to my side. She knelt beside me, mouth working, but I couldn't understand what she was saying. Everything was distorted by the sound of the beating of my heart, which seemed to be getting slower and slower. Color seemed to leak out of everything, and my vision was tunneling. The night seemed to be overpowering the light from the street lamps with every slow beat. What I could see seemed to be blurry and losing focus. More people were joining the would-be Good Samaritan, but I couldn't see them very well. The darkness then took my sight, and my slow beating heart stopped. It would be here that most people would tell you that they saw a bright light at the end of the dark tunnel. I saw no such thing. One moment I was lying on the ground on the cold asphalt of the street. The next, I opened my eyes to a small park in the middle of a wondrous city. People were laughing and talking, and children were running and playing. All of them were dressed in robes of white that seemed to glow. It was beautiful. "Jimmy, are you all right?" my wife asked me. "I don't know," I answered as I looked around in confusion and awe. "Where am I?" "Are we going to go through this again?" she asked, frowning. "Through what?" I think you need to go see Peter again. You really need to resolve this," she said. "Disrupts your happiness." She got up from the park bench where we had been sitting and took me by the arm. "Come on, we may as well get this over with." As I got to my feet, the strangest thing happened. I felt as if I had lost something important. All around me was light and happiness, but something was missing. I racked my brain trying to think, but there was no clue as to why I felt this way. My wife Vanessa steered us through the throngs of laughing, smiling people all dressed in white as if she knew exactly where we were going. I followed along in a daze, wondering how I'd gotten here and what was missing. It was like a splinter under my skin or a pebble in your shoe that you just can't get out. Here in this city of splendor and happiness, something was missing, and I seemed to be the only person who recognized it. Peter, it turned out, was a middle-aged man with dark black hair, sporting mustache and beard streaked with silver. He had kindly gray eyes that seemed to light up as we approached. "Jimmy, Vanessa, how wonderful to see you," he said, smiling. "It's happened again, Peter," Vanessa said without preamble. The words had a visible effect on Peter. His face became serious as he turned to me. "We really need to settle this, Jimmy," he said. I know, I answered. My memories of being hit by the bus were fading quickly now, being replaced by my memories of this place and my life here. If I could just discover what was missing, I would be able to put all this behind me. Walk with me, Jimmy, Peter said. Vanessa, don't you worry. I'll take good care of him and bring him straight back when we get through. As we walked, Peter talked to me about the bus incident and kept telling me not to dwell on it. He explained why I was having memory trouble and that it was natural. I can get over the bus incident if I can figure out what's missing, I said confidently. Peter stopped walking and looked at me. He seemed to be considering something very important or listening to some inner voice that I couldn't hear. After a moment, he nodded and a look of determination crossed his face. It's not something missing, Jimmy. It's someone, he said. His words seemed to strike at the heart of the problem. He was right. It wasn't something that was missing. My memory seemed to be failing me again as I tried to think of who it might be. I mentally checked off people I knew in my head, and everyone seemed to be there. Let me explain again, Peter said, as I stared at him blankly. Time doesn't work here. You were hit by that bus and killed. You woke up here. Your wife is here too, even though she is alive in the world where you were killed. There's no gap, even though she died years after you. There are no gaps because time doesn't exist here. Therefore, everyone that should be here is here. No, I said, and I was sure of it. Someone is missing. I know it. And they are missing because of me, because of something I did or didn't do. Again, Peter was silent. Considering my words after a moment, he seemed to come to a decision. He nodded his head and put his hand on my shoulder. Then I guess you'll just have to make it right, he said. Pain shot through me as the city vanished. Everything vanished, and I woke up staring at the cold night sky. The pain was immense, a physical presence. There was the sound of a crowd. A lot of people were standing around. Red lights seemed to be flashing in my eyes as the lady with the cold weather cap leaned over me. Mr. Davies, she said, it's going to be all right. The ambulance is here. They're going to take you to the hospital. The paramedics arrived and loaded me into the back of the ambulance. They took me to the hospital, and I was wrapped up in bandages before I could even blink. All through the experience, that dream about Vanessa and Peter kept running through my head. I continued to think about it through the long recovery. I thought about it for weeks afterward. As a matter of fact, I'm still thinking about it. I went through the list in my head of people who could have been missing. It was a long list, and I came to realize that the people who weren't there were the people I never talked to about God, people I never encouraged to come to Christ. I've been to some and talked to some. Some came willingly, and others ignored what I said. Now I'm here with you. You have just a moment to talk about God. The end.